kind of show and not say deep dark night of the soul and we end with a crisis and all of that stuff? I mean, that's sort of the preferred mode for a lot of shows now, even some of the things that call themselves comedies.
Yeah. It just never occurred to me to, you know, not that I don't have all that deep, dark night of the soul inside of me, but I've just always done comedy. It's always just been something that I've enjoyed. And I think that, you know, we play to our strengths. And it's also just something I've always been such a big fan of. Like, Larry Sanders is my favorite show.
Yeah.
I you know, rewatch it every couple of years. I watch the whole series. And there are certain things that I know that I love from TV that I now know making TV work on TV. One of them is friendship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think like romance, and this is obviously huge generalities, but I think romance is challenging on television because there's a whole will they or won't they, and then at a certain point you're in season 3 and it's like they will. Whereas, you know, movies are more self-contained and the relationship ends or doesn't, and that's sort of more of a, I don't know, I feel like romance can work more in film, and friendship, workplace stuff, you know, like their TV families.
Yes.
Just something about like Absolutely Fabulous that always really got to me when I would watch that show, and the two of them really loved each other more than like, you know, Sam and Diane getting together.
Right.
You know, and so that to me was something that I you know, I wanted to, it all comes from a place of truth, it all comes from a place of heart and, you know, authenticity, but yeah, the making it funny makes it easier to digest too, emotionally, I guess.
What was the hardest thing to learn about being in charge of a show like this, either from the creative standpoint or the technical standpoint?
There's so many things that you learn as you go and as you do them, but the thing about learning anything is I think you learn them by doing them, and one of the things that's always pissed me off is just the idea that like, oh no, there's a structure, there are story people, there are joke people, there is a formula, you know, no offense to anyone that's ever read Save the Cat and it was helpful for you to write your screenplay, and certainly there are patterns that work, but you know, breaking free from that rigidity helped me get out of my own way a lot. That said, you know, the challenges just come from the fact that I'd never made a television show before, but I've watched a lot of television,
Right.
and I've had a lot of ideas about things that I've wanted to do, and because TV is collaborative, I'm fortunate enough to have, you know, people who've had more experience than I have, you know, talk through ideas with me and point out things that I wouldn't ordinarily notice. Like I have this funny idea for a story where I interact with this character I know from real life, and you know, someone will point out, well, you're not really the active character in that story. You're kind of reacting. And I'm like, oh, it never occurred to me, but that makes sense. Like, what's a way to, you know, give me or Billy like more fun things to do and sort of drag the story forward. So that's stuff that I kind of learned as I went.
Can you give me